What is up, you guys? I'm JustGreene, and today I have the 2022 Hyundai Santa Fe. So with the midsize crossover segment getting fierce, this continues to be an important vehicle for Hyundai, and what I want to answer with this video is, should you buy the Hyundai Santa Fe over something like the Kia Sorento? That's what we'll find out. So again, with the competition becoming more fierce over recent years, with especially newer entries such as the Honda Passport, the all-new Toyota Venza, and the completely redesigned Kia Sorento, and being Hyundai's first ever SUV to launch in the United States, the Santa Fe remains a very important vehicle for the company. Now, Hyundai already gave us a major refresh with the 2019 model, and they've even revised the styling a bit with the 2021 model. So for 2022, nothing has really changed for the Santa Fe, but let's of course mention the trim levels for this vehicle. So Hyundai gives us 5 different trim levels this year. It starts as low as $27,700 for the very base model, which you are obviously losing some very notable premium features such as heated and powered seats, the panoramic sunroof, and the list goes on. This vehicle also goes as high as $41,410 for the top of the line calligraphy trim level, but my tester is the limited, so just right under the calligraphy. The only things we'd be missing from this model over the calligraphy are the quilted premium Napa leather seats, a heads-up display from the dash, and even more advanced interior lighting. But now, let's take a look at the exterior styling of the Santa Fe. So as you can see, my tester is in this absolutely stunning Calypso red paint. It really shines nicely with the Texas sun, and overall, I think this is an absolutely gorgeous color for this vehicle. But starting off on the hood, we have these pretty noticeable body lines going across. I think it all flows nicely into the front end of the vehicle. Then coming to the front end, you can see we have pretty aggressive styling, especially in this mesh design grille. It's finished in satin and chrome. I believe this is blacked out if you go for the calligraphy model. The whole grille actually reminds me of the Palisade. Overall, this front end to me just looks like a baby Palisade. Then coming down to the headlights, you can see we have this very familiar split design that Hyundai's been doing for quite a while. This upper portion is the daytime running light, which is LED on this model. Then coming down, this whole module includes our main headlights, which are projector LEDs, and our LED turn signals. You can see some nice silver trim here that flows across this entire front fascia. Then coming down here, we have some functional air vents with some black trim. Moving down, we have more silver trim that flows across this entire front area. Then down here, we have more of that mesh design with this bottom grille to allow more airflow into the radiator. Now, taking a look at the side profile of the Santa Fe, I think it looks somewhat more mainstream from this angle. It's not as aggressive as the front end, which is not a bad thing, but I think it looks a little bit more tame from this angle. But now walking towards the vehicle, as you can see, we have these silver roof rails, which contrast nice with the other silver and chrome accents. Then moving down, our mirrors are going to be, of course, body colored. They are also power folding on this model, however you missed out on that if you don't opt for at least the limited like I have here. And these are also heated on every Santa Fe but the very base model. Of course, we've also got our LED turn signal built in, which is nice. Then coming down, more body lines that flow nicely into the rear tail, flows nicely into this tail light back here, which is nice. Now moving down to our wheels, you can see it has like this star shape or gear-like design. They're 5-spoke wheels. These are the 19-inchers. The lower trim levels, I believe, will get a smaller 18-inch wheel, and you can get an even larger 20-inch wheel if you go for the top of the line calligraphy trim level. But overall, I like the styling of these wheels, and I think they suit the look of this vehicle pretty well. More silver trim down here, which matches nicely. Then coming back here to our gas cap, it is a push button style, which is nice. Keep in mind, this only opens when the vehicle is unlocked. Now the fuel capacity for this vehicle is around 18.8 gallons of fuel. And unfortunately, Hyundai doesn't list the type of fuel, but I believe you should be just fine with putting in 87 regular gas. Now taking a look at the rear styling of the Santa Fe, you can see it looks a lot more subdued than the aggressive front end. This again just looks more tame and not as in your face as what we saw in the front. So it's overall a pretty simple yet modern looking rear end, although I feel like it's starting to become a little dated, even though Hyundai did kind of refresh the look a little bit with the 2021 model year. But now walking up to the vehicle, the first thing I notice is this exposed rear wiper. So I definitely think Hyundai should tuck this in under the roof line to give this a more clean look, like some competitors do. Then coming down, you can see we have our backup camera, which is hidden nicely, and this one being a limited trim level also throws in a 360 surround view camera system, which is definitely nice. Now one thing I want to mention is that, as always with a red exterior, the taillights on a vehicle tend to blend in pretty unintentionally, but on the Santa Fe, they're actually pretty distinguishable even from a far distance. You can see they're connected to each other and flow across this entire rear end, which is something Kia and Hyundai have been implementing in their newer design language, and some other new cars are following this trend as well. Now these are full LED taillights, however they are incandescent if you don't opt for at least the limited trim level. Now coming over here, of course we have our Santa Fe badge with the little sun emblem at the end, and then on the other side we have this 2.5T badge, which actually stands for the 2.5 liter turbo engine that this vehicle has. I'm not sure why this is necessary. I think Hyundai should have just spelled out limited here. Coming down, we have this rear black bumper, and then if we look in the middle of this bumper, we have this reflector strip that flows across the entire rear end. Ironically, it blends in really nicely with this red exterior. And then if we come over to the side, here we find our actual LED turn signals, more of that rear black bumper going on, and I like some of these rear silver accents around them. Then coming down, we have more chrome accents, and our actual exhaust pipe is located on the right side of the vehicle. So overall, I think the exterior styling of the Santa Fe looks very premium and elegant considering the price tag of this vehicle. Now to open the tailgate of the Santa Fe, of course we can just use the key fob or walk up to the vehicle and locate the button right under the Hyundai emblem, and as I do that, as you can see, it is a powered tailgate on this model, which is available on every Santa Fe but the very base model. And when we take a look at the trunk, as you can see, we have one of our many speakers that are part of our Harman Kardon sound system. Over here on the right, we have buttons to powerful down the second row, as well as a 12-volt outlet. Then down here we have what I believe is a little storage cubby. I'm not really sure what would fit in here. But now let's talk about cargo space in the trunk. So it's rated to have 36.4 cubic feet of space behind the second row. Then if we fold those down, so you have to hold each button for it to actually work. That expands to a maximum of 72.1 cubic feet of space. Now unlike the Kia Sorento that I reviewed a few weeks back, this vehicle does not include a third row. It's only a 2-row vehicle, and as far as where this sits in the class, the Sorento is just a tad roomier with all of the rear seats folded down at 75.5 cubic feet of space. Behind the second row, the Sorento is almost 10 cubic feet bigger than this vehicle, even though in terms of length, the Sorento is only 1 inch longer. This is also smaller than the Honda Passport, however it is still bigger than the current Nissan Murano. That one is overdue for a refresh. So overall, I would say this sits in the middle of the pack as far as cargo space goes. Now I want to mention, we do have 2 flaps that reveal some extra storage. As for the one in front, I don't see a spare tire, so I'm assuming we don't get that with this vehicle. But now that we've seen the amount of practicality that we have back here, as well as cargo space, let's now take a look at what's powering our Santa Fe. So when we open the hood of the Santa Fe, you can see no prop rod on this vehicle, which is nice. So Hyundai didn't cheap out here. That shows an impression of quality. But anyways, what do we have under the hood? So this is a 2.5 liter inline-4 turbo, which puts out 281 horsepower with 311 pound-feet of torque. The lower trim levels only get a regular inline-4, which only puts out about 191 horsepower with 181 pound-feet of torque. So when you think about it, that's a major decrease in terms of power. I feel like for a mid-sized SUV like this, we should be getting more power, but for some reason, Hyundai only made the more powerful engine exclusive to the limited and calligraphy models, so keep that in mind. Now this engine is mated to an 8-speed DCT, which stands for dual clutch transmission. However, the lower trims just get a traditional 8-speed automatic transmission. Now as far as the fuel economy, this particular model is rated to get 22 in the city, 28 on the highway, and 25 combined driving, and that's just for the front wheel drive setup. We can also get all-wheel drive as an option on this vehicle, and of course when we switch it to all-wheel drive, those numbers are going to be a little bit lower. Now keep in mind, because we have the more powerful engine, all of these numbers are going to be less than the naturally aspirated inline-4. Now before we hop into the Santa Fe, let's of course mention the keep fob for this vehicle. So as you can see, this is our very familiar Hyundai keep fob. It's mostly constructed of plastic, has a nice weight and feel to it, and something really interesting with this key fob is that we have Hyundai's Smart Park feature, where basically we can slowly move the vehicle forward or backward, and this can be really useful for getting out of really tight parking spots, especially if somebody just decided to park really close to you. Now walking up to the vehicle, unlocking it is really simple. We can just put our hand on the door handle. It has a sensor built in, and as I do that, as you can see, our power folding mirrors open up, so that's really nice. They also fold in when we lock the vehicle, so it definitely prevents anyone from easily chucking your mirrors off. Now taking a look at our door panel, we have some leather here at the top. We have this faux carbon fiber trim that flows across, which looks nice, and it houses the memory seat controls for the driver. We have more leather on this wall here. We have one touch auto up and down windows for the driver and passenger, and we have some controls here for our power mirrors. Coming down, we have the silver accent that flows around the speaker grill, which the speaker grill has like this very geometric design going on. I'm not sure of the terminology for this, but I think it looks really premium. Here you can see we have the optional Harman Kardon premium audio sound system. Hyundai doesn't list how many speakers this is composed of, but it should be a really nice sounding system. Then moving down, we have this massive storage area with a cup holder. Now coming down to the driver's seat, it's 8-way power adjusting with 4-way lumbar support and an extension cushion for the legs, which is only exclusive to the limited and calligraphy models, so you won't find this on the lower trim levels. Coming down here, we have Santa Fe spelled out across the step-in bar, which is nice. Coming back to the seats, they are finished in real leather, and this is the black interior. However, the calligraphy gives us even nicer quilted premium Napa leather seats, but these are still pretty nice seats given the price point of this vehicle. Now stepping in here, the vehicle has a nice step-in height, and then shutting the door is very solid. I think it sounds like quality. Now to start up the vehicle, just put your foot on the brake and find a push to start button right over here. Now the first thing you'll notice when you start up the vehicle is this massive digital gauge cluster that fills up the entire area here. We're looking at a 12.3-inch display. This is only available if you go for the XRT or higher, and is optional on the SEL with the convenience package. And if you go for the calligraphy trim level, Hyundai also throws in a heads-up display, which we don't get here. Now as far as the graphics, they look very similar to other Hyundai vehicles I've been in. Same thing with the user interface. It's all very familiar and easy to read. Even if you're a new owner of a Hyundai vehicle, you'll feel like a professional in just 5 minutes with how easily everything is laid out here. Now unlike other recent Hyundai vehicles I've been in, this has more of a traditional look, whereas the other vehicles like the Elantra and Tucson have more of a tablet style gauge cluster, and personally I prefer to look at this over those models, but they're all going to be the same as far as the features you get. So we can scroll through a plethora of different information in the center here, and the gauges do a neat little animation when we switch between our drive modes. So we have comfort, sport, and smart. Now something Hyundai throws in if you go for the limited trim level is a blind spot monitor system. So basically when we put on our turn signal, these gauges will act as a camera that shows us a view of our blind spots. And of course it depends on which direction you're signaling to, but overall this is really nice. It's something you'd expect to see from a luxury vehicle like Hyundai's own Genesis line of vehicles, and this is something you don't even find in the competition. And I believe Kia doesn't even offer this, even though they are similar to Hyundai's line of vehicles. But now moving up here, we have a control for the panoramic sunroof, which is standard on the XRT and up, and is optional on the SEL as part of our premium package. It's a pretty large size sunroof, however the glass only opens about a quarter back, so I wish it would extend all the way back to the second row, unless I missed something, so let me know in the comments. Over here, of course, we have our illuminated detachable sun visors. Coming to our rear view mirror, it has like a frameless design, which is nice. It is auto dimming on this model, and we have some electronic controls at the bottom. Then coming to the dashboard, it's going to be hard touch plastic. We have one speaker in the middle. Down here is where we'll find our electronic parking brake, which is kind of weird that Hyundai decided to put it here instead of where the shifter is. It kind of looks like an afterthought, but I'm guessing they ran out of space. Coming to the steering wheel, it is leather wrapped. It has a really nice grip to it. This is more of a traditional steering wheel, not the updated one that you'll find in Hyundai's other recent vehicles, but I think this is still a great looking wheel. It's also heated on this limited model and the calligraphy. We have more of that faux carbon fiber trim. Now moving over to our upper dash portion, it's all going to be finished in leather, which is nice. Moving down, we have this little storage area right above the glove box, and then right here we have a moderately sized glove box. It's damped but not lined with felt. Now let's talk about our infotainment. So what we're looking at is a 10.25-inch screen with navigation built in. As you can see, I have Apple CarPlay up and running. Keep in mind it's only a wired connection, but scrolling and swiping here is nice and smooth, and I like how it takes up the entire screen. It looks and runs fantastic on this massive screen, very snappy and responsive to touch. And of course we can also switch back to our Hyundai Blue Link system from here, which is also very easy to use. I think it's one of the best stock user interfaces in the auto industry. But here's the built-in map or navigation system. As you can see, it's also pretty smooth and responsive to touch, but I imagine most people aren't going to use this anyway. We can also utilize some advanced climate controls from here, which is also nice. But moving down, our air vents have like the silver trim around them, which just feels like plastic. More faux carbon fiber material around the center console. The volume knobs actually feel pretty high quality. Now as for the center console itself, you can see lots of buttons here, which can be quite overwhelming for some people. However, I think Hyundai nicely laid out everything where it makes sense. You can see we have an electronic shifter here, which is very simple to use. They're just buttons. Then over here we have our drive mode selector, which also feels nice and high quality. Then down here we have our heated and ventilated seat controls for our driver and passenger. Now if we put the vehicle into reverse, you can see this 360 backup camera pops up. It has active trajectory as well as active parking sensors. If we want, we can also switch between different angles of the vehicle, so it is utilizing all of those cameras around the vehicle to give us that 360 view. And here we can also change some advanced settings for the backup camera, such as brightness. So all in all, it's a very nice system to use. Again, I still think it's one of the best systems I've used in the mainstream segment of vehicle. Now coming down here, we have this little storage compartment which includes a USB port and a cup holder. Over here is where the wireless phone charger lives, so it's just against the wall there. Then more faux carbon fiber trim around this area here, as well as a second cup holder. Then opening up the armrest, it's a decent size. It goes pretty deep actually, no connectivity in here. And then under the center console, as you can see, Hyundai gives us even more storage space as well as a 12-volt outlet and a USB port, so that's definitely nice. So overall, I think this is going to be one of the nicest interiors you'll find in the segment given the price points. But now let's check out the backseat area of this vehicle and see if it's just as nice as the front row. So taking a look at the back row of the Santa Fe, first of all, the door panel has the same fitted finishes that we saw in the front, so Hyundai hasn't cheaped out here. We have the same materials as well as this heated seat control. Coming down, we have the same premium speaker grille as well as a nicely sized storage area down here. Then coming to the seats, they are 6-way manual adjusting. We've also got the thigh extension for the legs, just like in the front. But now stepping into the back row, you can see even though my knees are pretty close to the seat in front of me, I'm actually still quite comfortable back here. But to be fair, I have the driver's seat pretty far back. Here we have this hard plastic material and we only have one backseat pocket, which is a little strange unlike the last Tucson I was in, and that was a cheaper vehicle. Now as far as the legroom back here, if you were cross-shopping this with the Tucson, it's actually very similar in size. This vehicle is rated to have 41.7 inches of legroom back here, which is only 0.4 inches bigger than the Tucson. Remember, Hyundai extended the overall length of that vehicle by a whopping 6 inches, so the Tucson is pretty much on par with this vehicle in terms of legroom, and the Santa Fe isn't all that much bigger than that vehicle in perspective. However, if you're cross-shopping this between other vehicles in the segment, this is actually bigger than the Nissan Murano, it's bigger than the Toyota Venza and Honda Passport, and it's on par with its sister vehicle, the Kia Sorento, so that puts this vehicle as one of the largest back rows you'll find in the segment. Now we do also have a folding armrest with some cup holders, it's finished in leather, and now coming to the center console, we do have air vents, which are nice, and then coming down we have 2 USB ports as well as an actual household outlet, which is nice. This is something you don't find very often on a vehicle. Then the hump is actually really low down here, so a middle passenger should be pretty comfortable in the Santa Fe. So to finally answer the question of the video, should you buy this over the Kia Sorento? Personally, I'd say it's a draw for me because both of these vehicles are very similar in what they offer for the dollar, and I think there's more similarities than differences, so it'd be really hard to pick a winner. So I truly believe which one is better really just comes down to what is more appealing to you as a buyer. Alright, so that concludes my review on the 2022 Hyundai Santa Fe, and if you guys made it this far, thank you. I really appreciate you for sticking with me till the end, and if you guys enjoyed the video, please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to the channel. It will definitely help me out, and I certainly hope you guys found this video helpful. And if you guys have any questions, thoughts, or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.